The Seventh-day Adventist Church has an active missionary presence in over 200 countries and territories. But around the world, religious hatred exposes itself in countless ways. If anyone says, "I love God," yet hates his brother, he is a liar. For anyone who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God, whom he has not seen. Unfortunately, men never do evil so completely and cheerfully as when they do it from religious conviction. But we hold true that religious liberty is a God-given right. The end of law is not to abolish or restrain, but to preserve and enlarge freedom. For in all the states of created beings capable of law, where there is no law, there is no freedom. We believe in the natural and inalienable right of freedom of conscience, to have or not to have a religion, to adopt the religion or belief of one's choice, to change religious belief according to conscience, and to manifest one's religion individually or in community with others. Nevertheless, it's evident that freedom of religion is increasingly under attack around the world, diminishing our ability to pray, worship, and share the love of Christ with others. We sometimes see religion twisted in an attempt to justify hatred and persecution against other people just because of who they are or how they pray. But to harm anyone in the name of faith is to diminish our own relationship with God. Every faith is a candle we light in the public domain. A little light drives away much darkness, and no one else's candle diminishes mine. But if we all light our candles together, we can turn a dark world into one full of light. And that is why working together for the cause of religious liberty is so fundamental and so precious. In support of our efforts to defend religious liberty for all people around the world, we ask that you pray, that you write, and that you rally. Because the world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing.
I'd like to offer my Sabbath greetings to you. Good morning and a happy Sabbath, everybody. We are really privileged to have for our Religious Liberty Festival this weekend Dr. John Graz, who is the Secretary General of the International Religious Liberty Association, based at the General Conference headquarters. And he's going to make two presentations in this morning session. And we're so happy that Dr. Graz is here along with his associate, attorney, Dwayne Leslie. And we'd like to invite Dr. Graz to the microphone now as he presents our first presentation in respect to our religious liberties. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Swede. I think I got a mic. And this morning, I'm very, very pleased to be with you this morning, this day, yesterday, and also to congratulate you and the British Union and its president, Pastor Sweeney, and also the division and its new president and secretary for supporting and organizing this first Festival of Religious Freedom in UK. That is, I hope that it is the first, but you will have a second and a third, and some other after. It becomes a tradition. It's so important today to show that we stand for religious freedom. And in this presentation this morning, I would like to explain you what is religious freedom, why we are defending religious freedom, and why we are organizing so many meetings around the world to promote and defend religious freedom, and also what happens when we don't have religious freedom. I guess we can have the first slide. I am happy also to be here with my associate, Dr. Ganoune Diop, and Attorney Dwayne Leslie, and also our Vice President of the General Conference, who is with us today, Dr. Baker. Very pleased to have all our team with us today. And you know, what is religious freedom? Religious freedom is first a gift from God. We should never forget that. It's a gift from God. You know, it starts from the creation. God created us with the free choice, the free decision. It means we have the right to decide to follow God or not. That's the way God expresses His love for every one of us. We have the right to say, God, yes, I love you. We are not forced to love God. God loves us, and He gave us the right to say, I don't love you. Because you cannot build a relation of love without the freedom to love. This is why religious freedom is first a gift of God. But it's also a fundamental freedom, a conquest of man. You know, don't forget also that if we are free here in UK, it's because in history people gave their life for our freedom. And this is what happened in many countries, in many places where we have freedom today. Because people, you know, gave their life for our freedom. Even if they were not Adventists, they gave their life for us. And we should never, never forget that. And also, the best definition of religious freedom comes from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. These rights include freedom to change his religion. That's something today that many countries don't accept, the freedom to change. This is why such a document could not be voted today at the United Nations. You would have too many countries opposed to the freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in public or in private to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. This is probably the best definition of religious freedom. But as Adventist, religious freedom is a prophetic mission. You know, religious freedom, as said our President Ted Wilson, is part of the DNA of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. You know, from the beginning of our history, we had stand for religious freedom. And Ellen White wrote this beautiful text, the banner of the truth and religious liberty. You know, most of you, maybe you think about the truth, the banner of the truth. You agree with that. And most of the religious people agree with that, the truth. But not just the truth. The truth without religious freedom, without religious liberty, is not the truth. The banner of the truth and religious liberty held aloft by the founders of the gospel church, it means the apostles, and by God's witnesses during the centuries that have passed since then, has, and that is for us, in this last conflict, been committed to our hands. And some people say, why the Seventh-day Adventists are so involved in defending religious freedom for all and everywhere? This is the answer. It has been committed. It is our prophetic mission. You know, and that is why it's so important. What's going on today in the world in terms of religious freedom? You know, we have several very important reports which give us all the information we need about religious freedom in the world today. And I have to say that, and also we publish our own report, and Dr. Diop is the editor and is the one who wrote the World Report of Religious Freedom. And this morning I would like to mention especially the Pew Forum from the Pew Research Center, the state of religious freedom around the world. And of course, as I travel a lot around the world, I can see if what they say is correct or not. But what we have to remember that we have less religious freedom around the world today than 20 years ago. You know, it means it's getting worse. And I quote the Pew Center, the Pew Research Center. Religious hostilities increase in every major region of the world except the Americas. And we can make some remark because there are some countries now in the Americas where you have less religious freedom. The sharpest increase was in the Middle East and North Africa. There also was a significant increase in religious hostilities in Asia-Pacific region, where China edged in the height category for the first time. On this map you have, in the dark, you have the places around the world where religious freedom is a challenge, where people are discriminated or persecuted because their religion. And you can see that even if the Americas are still the best place to live as a continent for religious freedom, there are other countries where you don't have religious freedom. For religious freedom is attacked. It's attacked by countries where the government pass laws and regulation which restrict our freedom. It's attacked when you have an alliance between the government and religions. And it happens more and more. The government is supporting just one religion, and the other are discriminated or persecuted. It's attacked also when the government is unable to protect its citizen, and when you have sectarian violence and activities. To give you some example, government pass laws and regulation. It's a case in China, Vietnam, North Korea. Probably North Korea is the worst in terms of religious freedom. Eritrea, very bad. Pakistan, where you have a law, and we will come back, a law on blasphemy, a law on apostasy, which make the life of the minority of Christians very difficult. The number of countries where believers are persecuted. Christians are the most persecuted religion in the world today. They are persecuted and discriminated in 151 countries. And after, you have the Jews are persecuted, even Muslims are persecuted. It means at the end, most of the religions are persecuted in some part of the world, which is interesting because in some other part of the world, religions persecute people, but they are also persecuted. It means it is the interest of everyone to have religious freedom. Because you may be not persecuted here because you are part or member of the majority religion, but maybe in other countries your brothers and sisters will be persecuted because they are part of the minorities. This is why it's so important. And the alliance of government, between government and religion, one of the best examples is Saudi Arabia, Iran, Afghanistan, Russia, also Pakistan, and the increases in social and sectarian hostility like Nigeria. The government is in favor of religious freedom, but you have some groups, some militia, who are attacking religious minorities like the Christian in North, East Nigeria, Bangladesh, India, Egypt, Indonesia, and so on. This is the map of the hostilities against religions, and especially religious minorities. You can see even in the America, there are two countries, at least two, but now there are a little more, where religious minorities have a problem. Another quotation, the share of countries with a high or very high level of social hostilities involving religions reached a 6-year peak in 2012. And according to a new study by the Pew Research Center, a third, 33% of the 198 countries and territories included in the study had high religious hostilities. High religious hostilities. In 2012, up from 29%. It's increasing. In 2011, 20%. As of the mid of 2007. We are today facing an increasing of religious persecution, and when you just turn on the TV and watch the news, you can see what happened today in the Middle East, and especially in Iraq, what happened with the Christian minorities. And remember, for those who say we have always had religious freedom in our country, there is no problem, why we should defend religious freedom for others. Remember, in Middle East, during almost 2,000 years, people have a kind of freedom there. And during more than 1,500 years, Christian and Muslim live together almost without any problem. What's going on today? Today, you know, what's going on did not happen in the past. It's a very new, and it can happen everywhere. Now, the percentage of country where we have a sectarian and communal violence. In 2007, 8%. 2011, 15%. 2012, 18%. And I visited some of these countries. You know, I was not able to go to Chiapas 20 years ago because you have a lot of religious discrimination, violence. Our people, evangelicals, were persecuted. Several thousand were killed. They lost everything. But after I had the possibility to go there, and I saw, you know, what does it mean to be persecuted for your faith? It means persecution means you lose everything. Your father, your mother, your children are killed, burned. Your church, like in India, in Orissa, are burnt and your pastor killed. And this is where our people in India, in the state of Orissa, are living now. They had a house before, but they have been living since 2008 in these, under this tent. And what is about their church? This is their church now. But the good news, you know, the president of the division said that they rebuilt a new church there. But, you know, ask the question, what would be my reaction if I had to leave or if I was living in such a country? You know, these people have just one word to say, to have no problem at all. They are poor people. They are not influential people. You know, Christians who are living in Pakistan, in India, are not very rich people. They are poor people, ordinary people. And they have just one word to say, and they will not be persecuted at all. This word is, I recant my faith. I am Christian, but sorry, it's a mistake. I want to change. I want to have the same religion that the majority. Then they will not be persecuted. They will get advantages. But in spite of that, they say, no, I want to be faithful to my faith, faithful to Jesus. These people are heroes today in the 21st century. 20 years ago also, you know, one of the factors is the world has a change. 20 years ago, church and state separation was a concept accepted. Human right was very much, you know, accepted, if not practiced, but accepted. Religious minorities were respected. And today, it has changed. The world has changed in 20 years. Today, you know, the government tried to have a social consensus. The alliance between church and state seems to be good for the countries. The state controls more and more churches, more and more. And the minorities are suspicious. We don't know who is behind. You know, maybe they are terrorists. We don't know. 20 years ago, the US was the only superpower. The Soviet Union was collapsing. Europe was trying to build a union. Western values were dominant at the United Nations. You know, I remember 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when the Western, and especially when the US spoke, you know, people listened to. They had a lot of authorities. Today, the supremacy of the US is challenged. The new powers are emerging. BRICS, you heard about BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, and China, of course. Human rights, religious freedom, church-state separation are associated with the Western culture. More and more when you talk about human rights, people say, but that is your culture. That's not universal. Islam and Buddhism are supported by a number of countries at the United Nations, and Dr. Diop could talk about that. When you say something against Islam or against Buddhism, 50 countries stand up and react. When something is done or is said about against Christianity, no one moved. Western countries don't defend persecuted Christians. Today, you know, it's changing. We saw leaders of a country saying that we should help Christians. Country needs to build national unity and avoid civil unrest and division. And religion, for many, is a factor of division. Religion is a factor of unity when you have just one religion and stability, but it may become, for many leaders, a factor of conflict. The state needs to finalize in the religious world. And historical and traditional churches and religions benefit from these alliances. It means the worst also, and when I travel around the world and I talk with religious leaders, I'm surprised because, when I talk with Muslims, they feel to be attacked by Christians and by other religion. When I talk with Christians, they feel to be attacked by other, and you have some reaction. The Muslims can defend themselves, with some resolution on defamation of religion at the United Nations. They try to protect, not to be attacked. And the Christian try to do something too. It means you have a kind of reaction against the other. It's not a good environment to have a peace. The government wants to control religion more and more. Church and state are forming a new alliances to be stronger. One a good example is Russia. Proselytism is seen as a provocation and a factor of destabilization. Where are we going? Are we going back to the politic of scapegoat? Yes, maybe. Will dissidents and minorities be targeted? Yes, in some countries it's already the case. Will they be accused of destabilizing the establishment? Yes, it is the case in some places. And what are the potential scapegoats in our world? Christian in Middle East, we can see that, and in Asia. Muslim in America, but sometime in some part of Europe. Evangelicals and Adventists everywhere. Why? Because they share their faith. And religious minority everywhere too. What does it mean to live in places or in a country where you don't have religious freedom? It means a very concrete things. I want to take the example of Bibi. She was arrested in 2009 in Pakistan. She was an agricultural worker and she wanted to share some water with other women. Just look at that. They refused because her religion. And they say, you are Christian, your water is unclean. And they accuse her of making derogatory remarks about the national religion. We don't know if it is true, but she was accused of that. She was arrested and sentenced to death. Sentenced to death. Because there is a law, the law against apostasy and the law against blasphemy. You can be accused at any moment to commit a blasphemy. And if you are accused, you are arrested and you may be executed. It happens all the time. They can burn your house just for that, even if it is not true that you commit a blasphemy. The governor, Salman Taseer, a courageous leader, he is a Muslim. He decided to help Bibi. What happened to him? He was assassinated by his bodyguard. Another member of the government of Pakistan, Minister Shabbaz Bhatti, he said that we should get rid of this law. It's not a good law. He received threatened, and he was threatened. He said, I was told that if I was to continue the campaign against the blasphemy law, I will be assassinated. I will be beheaded. But, and he had heroes. But forces of violence, forces of extremists cannot harass me, cannot threaten me. Can you imagine what happened to him? What happened to him? He was killed. He was killed in his car. And we had a meeting for a memory, to thank him. Now, you have heard about Meriam Ibrahim in Sudan. 27 years old Sudanese doctor, and she was arrested in August 2013 and sent to prison along with his 18-month-old son. She was sentenced to 100 lashes, then sentenced by death, by hanging. The execution by hanging was not done because she was pregnant. While she was in prison, she gave birth to a girl. She was accused of apostasy. Why? Because, she was born as a Muslim, in a Muslim family, but at 6, her father left, and her mother married a Christian, and she became Christian. And after the authorities said to them, but in fact, you are not Christian, because your father was not Christian. It means you change your religion. You commit apostasy. And she said, I did not. I was a kid. I was a baby. Say, no, you did. And you are sentenced. And because, then you marry a Christian. and you commit adultery, it means it's 2 cases and you should be sentenced to death. Now imagine that you are living in such a country. What kind of life would you have? In the morning you will have to be very careful about what you share with your friends. Very careful about your children. Be careful about what you say. You should be very careful about sharing your faith because you could be arrested. Your house could be destroyed. You could spend your life in prison, even if you are totally innocent. But you know, for Meriam, an international campaign, and this is what we try to do. We try to help these people, and a lot of signatures were collected, and fortunately for her, July 24th, 2014, she was free. You have some other places like Nigeria or Boko Haram kill Christians and burn churches. In Kenya, it's Al-Shabaab. In Iraq, in Syria, it's ISIS. It means thousands Christian and other religious minority are targeted and are killed and discriminated. What can we do? We have to be responsible in the world today. When we write or when we speak, we have to favor interreligious dialogue. You know, we have to build bridges with people from other religions. We have to encourage believers to be positively active in the community. Be part of the community where you are living. People should not see you as a strange group of people who are not interested by the other or not interested by the community. And you have to promote and protect religious freedom for all. That is the first part, you know, and after we will see how we can do that. But you know, remember, you are here today. That's an historical moment in the UK. That's the first festival which has never ever been organized to defend, promote religious freedom. This is the best answer to religious intolerance and religious persecutions. Now, what could we do to stand and to promote religious freedom? You know, such an event is important. It shows that 1,000 people stand for religious freedom here. And it's a strong message you send to the authorities and also to the world. And imagine people who are persecuted, if they know that today in Birmingham, you know, thousands of people were together to support religious freedom. It will encourage them. They will believe that they are not alone. Because when you are persecuted, very often you believe you are alone, that nobody takes care about you. Every event is a message. Every event can attract the public interest and the media. This is why we develop several events, important events. Every event can develop, improve, facilitate relations with the community, with community leaders and NGOs. We need to have these relations. Every event can build a network of friends and make a difference. We cannot defend religious freedom alone. We have to lead coalition. We have to be with other people of goodwill on the base of religious freedom. It has nothing to do with ecumenism. It has to do with defending the right of people to decide to have a religion or not, and to choose free, according to their decision and their conscience, what kind of religion they want to have. You know, and we have to rally public to support those who are in prison, like we did for Pastor Montero. He was arrested March 15, 2012, and we asked all churches to visit internet, to sign on internet, to send letters, and the good news is now he is free. We collected 10,000 signatures on internet, and the good news, yes, he has been acquitted on January 12, 2014. He was acquitted after 22 months in prison, and Dr. Diop, Dr. Baker and myself, we went to Togo and we met our prisoner there. You know, if the authorities and government feel that people who are persecuted are not alone, they will try to do something to help, and we will find people of goodwill. What kind of event we organize? You know, we organize every 5 years the World Congress on Religious Freedom. You can see a list of the places where we had this Congress: Amsterdam, Rome, London, Rio de Janeiro, Manila, Cape Town, Punta Cana, and the next one will be in Florida.
what people think about these world meeting. You know, a testimony from someone, from an imam from Iran. He wrote, "I would like to congratulate you for your very successful Congress. Indeed, it was one of the best in its category." A mullah from Iran. But he had probably some too much liberal idea about religious freedom. And what happened, he was arrested and he was sentenced to prison. We don't know what happened to him now. And we had also in 2012 the Seventh World Congress, where we had more than 900 participants. That was the largest congress. 9 plenary sessions, top religious leaders, 50 university professors, experts, government officials, and also the Secretary of State who came, you know, from the capital city for our last meeting. The Seventh World Congress was the largest congress on religious freedom, brothers and sisters, ever organized. We made a difference. You know, God said that the Lord will make you the head and not the tail if you obey my command. And when we do something, we know that there is a blessing behind. We are not asked to do something to be ordinary, to be the 7 or the 9, but according to the promise of God, to make a difference, to be the head. It may have been the largest Congress on religious freedom ever organized to date. We made a difference. And the 8th World Congress is already planned for August 22nd, 2017. Now we have every year meeting of experts. We start in 1999 with the support of the Spanish Ministry of Justice. It was a fabulous meeting, and we decided that every year we had this kind of meeting with the best scholar, expert in the field of religious freedom. And every year, next week we will be in Florence with Dr. Diop, Dr. Baker, and Leslie, and Attorney Leslie, with a group of more than 20 experts coming from more than 10 secular universities. We were in Washington, we went to the White House, State Department, then we went to Middle East, and we invite also Imam, Orthodox, Archbishop, and so on. Then we were hosted by the University of Sydney. Then we went to the University of Toronto. And then this year, the beginning of this year, we went to Athens in Greece. You know, it has become the #1 think tank on religious freedom. Religious freedom, we publish statements which can be helpful for the international organization, for religious groups, and for government. We publish statements on religious freedom and proselytism, religious symbol in public square, religion in education, religious freedom and security, defamation of religion, teaching respect of religion. Then we organize international congresses and symposiums around the world on the 6 continents. And I give you some examples. Mongolia, South Korea, Russia, Trinidad, Dominican Republic, Peru, Israel, Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, Guatemala, Indonesia, Philippines, Rwanda, and again and again and again. You know, in Mongolia, that was important to be there because the Buddhists wanted to be recognized as a state religion by the government, and we thought that it could be a problem for the other minorities. We had also meeting in Forum in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, in many places. We visit places where people are persecuted. And one of the most moving visits was to eastern Indonesia on the island of Ambon, where 8,000 people were killed in a religious war between Christian and Muslim. And you know, if you don't know what does it mean, persecution, you have to visit some place around the world. This is what we saw, you know, houses destroyed, burned, church burned, mosque burned, university almost totally destroyed, on an island which could be a paradise. But people kill each other. This is the Seventh-day Adventist place, which was burned during the war. And this is our elder. You know, he stayed there during the war, and he protected his family. And we visited Christian and Muslim. And we were very welcomed by the Muslim leaders, and we tried to build bridges. You know, Orissa, James Standish, my associate, went to Orissa to see what the result of religious persecution, where churches were burnt and pastors killed. And every year we have in Washington the Liberty Award dinner. It has become a tradition since 2003. You know, meeting of experts, congresses, and dinner. That is something you can do in every church. You know, you can have a dinner every year and invite the mayor and give an award to people who are defending religious freedom. The first dinner we had in Washington. The second dinner, Senate Chaplain Black was with us. He was our guest, and we are so happy to have him with us for this festival. You know, you are welcome in all our festival and big meeting. It's such a privilege to have you, Dr. Blake. And we had, as a speaker, we had also John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, John McCain, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs from Canada, who came from Canada to our dinner, the first ambassador from Canada, first ambassador of religious freedom, and with the organizer of the dinner, Attorney Dwayne Leslie and Melissa Reed. And we had also the U.S. Chair, Katrina Lantos-Sweet, the U.S. Chair of the U.S. Commission, the U.S. Commission on Religious Freedom, and Ambassador Susan Johnson Cook. It means all people who were interested and had responsibilities and function about religious freedom came to our dinner. It has become one of the top dinner on religious freedom. You know, we start with a big vision, but not a lot of budget. And now we are one of the best dinner. And this year we had Melissa Rogers, the advisor of President Obama. Since 2003, about 200 diplomats and more than 50 ambassadors have attended to our dinners. Similar dinners are held in Manila, Moscow, Caracas, and Madrid. Then also when we travel, we try to meet the world leaders and to explain what does it mean, religious freedom. Here, the President of the Republic of East Timor, and Lincoln Steed too, the Governor General of Jamaica, the President of Ghana, Attorney Dwayne Leslie has some good friends at the White House, as you can see. If you want to say something to them, just contact him. He's here, sitting in the first row. And also Dr. Diop met the President, the Secretary of the African Commission of Human Rights, and some other people. You can see every time religious leaders, politicians, members of the government, because they are those who can make a difference in the field of religious freedom. We also invite in our headquarters ambassadors from various countries and religious leaders. Here, the ambassador of Norway. When we visit countries like in Jordan, we met officials like the Princess Basma, the Minister of Information, Prime Minister of Italy, President of Haiti, and during one of our congress in Colombia, the President of the country, Alvaro Uribe Velez, came and he gave a very good speech about religious freedom. And also he mentioned several times the Adventists. Then we are present, our ambassador at the United Nations is Dr. Diop. He's very active at the United Nations Commission, Council of Human Rights. And you see with the United Nations Special Rapporteur. We are also very involved in communication, publish books, journal, and we have on Hope Channel a TV program, Global Faith and Freedom. And we are invited also to give lecture in universities, schools, academy, even in Middle East, in Amman, where we were invited with Dr. Baker to give a lecture on religious freedom. And now, a big event which started in 2003, but really in 2006, is the Festival of Religious Freedom. That's something which we are very proud about that, because we initiate that. In 2006, you know, in Sao Paulo, we had this idea to ask people to come to support religious freedom. Not just 2 or 3 or 25 or 30 people, not just expert, not just religious leader, but people, member of the church, and all those who support religious freedom come and stand for religious freedom. And it was the beginning of the festival. The first meeting, you know, when I saw the stadium, I thought that it will never, never be full. We will never feel it. I lack of faith, but I read in the Bible the promise of God. The Lord will make you the head and not the tail. And that was a very, very good experience. The first mega festival in Sao Paulo was a success. 12,000 young, most of them were young people, came, and 20,000 were outside, unable to come because it was already filled. The stadium was filled. Then we went on the 6 continents, Suriname, Jerusalem, Indonesia, Dominican Republic, where 13,000 people came to the festival. Korea, South Korea, beautiful program. Bogota, 15,000 people attended. And we started with the first Festival of Religious Freedom. It was in Lima, 2009, with 45,000 people, with the 2 ministers of the government, ambassador, president of the Supreme Court, and so on. Then we also had a festival in Luanda, Angola, with more than 40,000 people. 10,000 people march, women, young people march for religious freedom. Then for the first time in the Muslim countries, we had a festival in Manado in Indonesia, with all religious leaders represented. Then, you know, I mentioned social and local problem in Chiapas, Mexico, where 30 years ago our church members were persecuted. And we had now, you know, last year we had a big festival of religious freedom with 27,000 people in a stadium. 20,000 people in a stadium who said, you know, we love religious freedom. We want to keep it. Thank you, God, and thank you to our country for religious freedom. This is what we will say this afternoon. Then we had a beautiful concert on religious freedom. We had also a very beautiful concert in Sao Paulo. I think we have to associate artists in the promotion and defense of religious freedom. Then we had our second festival of religious freedom. It was May 25 in Sao Paulo, where probably 30,000 people attended. You know, when you have such event in a city, in a capital city, in a great city like Sao Paulo, I can assure you it makes a difference. And of course, we were able to meet the governor of the state of Sao Paulo. We met the mayor, all the leaders. And what was the outcome? The outcome was the city of Sao Paulo voted that May 25 will be the annual Religious Freedom Day. And Sao Paulo became the first large city in the world to hold an annual Religious Freedom Day. That's a fabulous result. You know, we made a difference, as you can make a difference here in UK. Then we went to Yaoundé for the 3rd Pan-African Festival, where then we went to Seoul for another festival, then also in Mindanao, and in Haiti. We had 2 festivals in the Philippines, the first festival in Haiti. From 2006 to August 2014, more than 200,000 people have attended to the Festival of Religious Freedom. 200,000 people. You know, brothers and sisters, no other church or no other religious organization or even NGOs has never done that. In terms of having people to gather to promote religious freedom, we have been really the champion. It is a world record for religious freedom meeting attendance, and we expect that this number will reach 300,000 in December 2014. And of course, you know, people look at us and what we are doing, and time to time they give us some medal or award. We give a lot of awards, but we receive also time to time some awards. And I remember this quotation of Sister White, and I want to conclude with that. You know, if we are doing that, it's not just because we want to do something. It's because it's a prophetic mission. Religious freedom is part of the DNA of the Adventist Church, and we will defend religious freedom for all, everywhere, until Jesus comes back, return. And the quotation, the banner of the truth and religious liberty held aloft by the founder of the Gospel Church and by God's witnesses during the centuries that have passed since then, has, in this last conflict, been committed to our hand. This is a beautiful image of the festival in Merida, Mexico, where, you know, our people wanted to show that we got the flame to defend and promote religious freedom. Now we keep the flame and we share the flame with the whole world. Why? Because religious freedom is a gift from God who loves us. But religious freedom also is a gift from man, from our country. And this is why we are here to say thank you to the UK for the religious freedom we have. Thinking about all those who are persecuted around the world, we have the privilege to live in a part of the world where we have religious freedom, where the state is not putting us, arresting us, putting us in prison or in jail, but protecting us and protecting our church. May God bless you. Amen.